Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Once again, Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New You. And we are in the midst of our 7-part series, Rise and Thrive in 25. These are the foundational steps and foundational concepts to truly build your referral-based business on a base of love, generosity, and appreciation. Today, we continue, and today is you getting better as you launch your new year into a new stratosphere and you truly understand what it means and what it takes to build a referral-based business. Enjoy today's episode and rise and thrive in 25. So let's jump into today's subject matter, and that's the second C of the 3 C's of referability. The last time, just to review a little bit, is we covered character, which is essentially doing the right thing. Do the right thing every time. And, there's some C's that are not included in what we talk about. And like care is one of those that's not necessarily one of the 3 C's of referability. Do you have to care? Yes, I think you have to care. But I think that character is stronger than care. I think character kind of incorporates care. You care enough about the relationship to tell the truth, to be honest, to have integrity. So care is not one of the 3 C's, and sometimes that surprises people. So what is the second C of referability?
Second C of referability is competence.
Competence. So competence, well, what character is do the right thing, and competence is do things right. Mm-hmm. So should we do things right? Well, of course we should do things right, and we should seek to become the expert in what we are. For me, it was seek to become an expert as a real estate agent, which meant things like negotiation, paperwork. I needed to become the expert on the contract, even though I wasn't an attorney. I needed to become an expert at marketing homes. I needed to become an expert at the transaction. I needed to become an expert at a lot of different things that involve real estate, interpersonal skills, some sales skills as far as, what to say, what to do, that kind of thing. I had to become an expert in timely responses. And I needed to become an expert in a lot of different things. And it's one of those where the 3 C's actually go in order of importance. And when I say that, character is actually the least important of all 3 of the C's, believe it or not. Competence is more important than character. I know that sounds weird, but it really is, because honestly, if you're really good at what you do, people are not going to care about your character. Like, I have surgery coming up. It was hinted to in the shout out today. I have surgery coming up, and I just do I care how honest this guy is? Do I care how much integrity he has? It's like, no, he's the best at doing a Achilles surgery in the entire Southeast. So guess what? I don't care. I don't care about anything else, to be honest with you. I want to go to the best. And here's the thing. If you're in real estate, it's the biggest financial investment of a person's life. So they really don't care a whole lot about the other stuff, as long as you know what to do. And I'm telling you right now is that seek to be an expert in whatever profession, whatever thing you're doing. And you'll never go hungry, because it doesn't, you want to, that's the best thing about being the best, is that, let's say you have to get Achilles surgery. Now, I'm an athlete, and I consider myself still an athlete. and I want to do athletic endeavors afterwards. So the repair of my Achilles tendon is a really big thing. So let's say you had to have Achilles tendon surgery, right? Who would you go to? Insurance is paying, right? Other than the deductible, insurance is paying a majority of your bill. Where are you going? Who are you using? You're going to use the best. I'm just going to throw it out. You're going to use the best that your insurance can buy. So you're going to use the best. Do you care if it's a woman or a man? No, you don't. Do you care if they're black or white or brown or yellow?
No.
You don't care. You don't care. You don't care if they're a freaking alien. You don't care about anything except for how well they do it. And guess what? That is how most people think, is if you're known as being the best, then they don't care what your nationality is. They don't care your color. They don't care your gender. They don't care your politics. They don't care about your character. They just want the best. So be the best. And then guess what? You will get referred by simply being the best. And that is a very important part of the referability. Here's the other thing about competency. Competence leads to confidence. So the more you learn and the more you feel comfortable with the contract, with negotiations, with if you're a lender, with the process, with the different types of programs, the more competent you are in those things, the more confident you are. Well, confidence is extremely attractive for people. People want to work with confident people. That just makes sense, And I do know that can even go overboard sometimes. I know people who are known for kind of being the best, and they're egotistical, arrogant. And here's the thing. People will overlook arrogance and being egotistical if you're the best. They will. They'll go, oh my God, that guy's such an a-hole, but I'm going to work with that attorney because they're the best. And that's how it works. So being competent can overcome a lot of other shortcomings. One of those could be color, height, looks,
How
gender,
long you've been in the industry?
years in the industry, any of that. And just so you know, in most professions, you can become an expert in less than a year. You can be, if you work on it, if you literally go to work every day on it, you can be an expert in a year. There's 10,000 hours that you could spend in a year or whatever. So it's one of the, I don't know what 365 times 24 is. I guess that would be like 7,500, but you're going to be able to get quite a few. I guess it would be 365 times 24. What is that? Can you do that on your phone real quick?
I'm so used to
Siri,
in your head.
What is 365 times 24? Hey Siri, what is 365 times 24?
8,760.
There you go. So you've got, let's call it, you've got 8 hours of sleep a day, right? So that's 24 hours. So you've got 2/3 of that where you can work on becoming an expert. And it really does help to yeah.
I was just gonna say, and there's so many ways that you can work on that because, like you were saying, like becoming, you got to have competency in contracts. And what's the easiest way to do that? Practice writing them, go through and make up, write fake offers and just to go through it. So, what's in the paperwork and all the points that you can negotiate.
People ask me all the time, like what our onboarding process was to get people in production so fast. The first thing that everybody we had did is they quote unquote fake listed their own residence. So they would practice getting a listing, and they would practice writing the description, and they would practice entering in an MLS, and then we wouldn't hit submit, we'd just hit delete. And so we would do 10 of those, and then we would do 10 contracts where all it was is write the offer. And then we would practice those 10 and we would negotiate them out I would be the listing agent. They would be the buyer agent for the first 5. And then they would be the listing agent. I would be the buyer's agent on the next 5. And I threw it at them. I threw everything in the kitchen sink, like we want your dog too, into the negotiations. I would have a lot of fun on that last one where it's just like, hey, we want you to take the water heater out and put in a tankless water heater. Right. And, I would get the deer in the headlights look, and it was great practice. I tried to make it harder than any live contract they would ever do. Guess what? They got better. And that is just honestly, that's the best training you could ever do for a new real estate agent. For a new lender, have them do 10 fake loans. Have them go through it. Have them communicate with you like you're a realtor. Have them communicate with you like you're a consumer or another person. And if you have 2 of these people going through, you can have them communicate with each other as consumers. So building competence is easy, but it is amazing to me. What I saw in real estate is somebody would say, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. They've essentially done it at a sucky level for 20 years. They've essentially done their first year in real estate 20 consecutive years. That's because they didn't grow and there was no growth. And I still had to explain things to quote unquote 20-year veterans that were like basic parts of the contract or basic parts of negotiation. Like, guess what? Personal property is not a part of the contract. It should not be a part of the contract, right? Unless I want it to be. But the thing is competence is the easiest to attain. It's powerful. It makes you more confident. It makes you walk taller, walk faster, do business faster. I will tell you the opposite of competence. And that is, I got my very first client from softball, interestingly enough. And when I was showing them homes, listen to me. I mean, I hope everybody here understands how real estate agents get paid. They get paid when somebody writes an offer, gets a contract, and that contract closes. I was showing homes to my very first client, secretly praying that they would not want to make an offer. Now, you got to realize how counterproductive that is. Literally, I talked them out of like 3 homes that they wanted to make offers on. Oh, no, not this one. Right. Why? Because I didn't know how to write a contract. I didn't know how to write an offer. Nobody trained me. I didn't have any training. I didn't know what was going on. Right. So I will tell you, I this is a true story. I remember, and I talked them out of 2 or 3 homes. And part of the reasons were the homes were not right for them. Another part of the reason is because I was afraid that I was going to be exposed as a fraud because I wouldn't know the next step, right? Did I have a broker who would have helped me on that? Maybe, but she always seemed super busy. So I didn't want to bother her, right? Think about how stupid that is. Well, then we went to a new home subdivision on the west side of Olathe. And we started walking through the models, and these all fit their price range. They fit their location. They fit everything. And I remember walking through the models, and we got to the second one, and Vanessa, the wife, started figuring out where their furniture was going to go. And I will tell you, and if you're an agent, the buyer signals. I started sweating because I knew the gig was up. I was going to be exposed as a fraud very, very quickly. And so we went to the 3rd home and the 4th model home. And we're starting to walk back to the model home where the 2 on-site agents are. And I kept pausing them on the driveway and looking at the houses. I'm like, do you see anything wrong? Is there something that bothers you? Is there anything where they were like, no, we love the second house, right? They were like, we love that. We want to decorate it like that. Our furniture fits. It's perfect for us. I imagine our first kid in this home. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that's great. And I probably said it just like that. That's great. So we walk up, we're walking down the sidewalk, and then we go into the garage. And that's how in Kansas City they do things, is they make their office the garage of the first model. And we walked in, and there was a lady and a guy there. And the lady goes, "Well, what do you guys think?" And, we all kind of, "Man, you know what? They're really nice, especially the second one." And she goes, "Well, do you want me to write it up?" And I go, "Yes, I do. I want you to write that up. And I'm telling you right now, you make sure every blank is filled in. You make sure it's filled out right, because I'm going to read every word of that piece of paper." Because I was going to, because I needed to, because I wanted to understand it. Right. And so she thought I was being all tough and that kind of thing. And I, probably came across that way. And they wrote up the offer, and we sat there, and both of us, everybody signed it, got it done. And it ended up a phenomenal investment for them. And it ended up, and then we did their housewarming party about 60 days later. They 30 to close, and then 30 days after we did a housewarming party, which I got 11 referrals at. So it's one of those where I was kind of never revealed as a fraud. And I will tell you, I did go through the builder contract word for word with my broker, and then asked her to go over the residential real estate contract with me. And from there on out, and I never wanted to feel like that way again. Right. So guess what? Which was the bigger challenge for me? Was it character or competence? It was competence. Mm-hmm. And guess what? My competence actually got in the way of my character. So I think it's one of those where competence is a big deal. It's the easiest to fix. Many agents don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. But they need to go through practice scenarios. Lenders need to go through financial planners need to go through 5 practice clients. And I don't know. It's funny, is I remember hearing, actually a big time coach said this publicly, which I thought would kill their coaching business. And he said that, the level of incompetence in the real estate industry has never been higher. And I remember him saying that in like 2006, 2007. And, I'm not sure if that was true or not at the time. It wasn't true for me, that's for sure. But it's one of those where, whose fault is that? Is it the agent's fault? Is it the broker's fault? Is it the industry expectations fault? And what the coach should have said is the level of incompetence has never been higher, and then launched a training course on contracts. Like, we're going to raise the level of competence. It wasn't that, right? It's like, no, we only coach people who make 500,000 or more, blah, 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 right? And really, who knows what was the truth anyway. But it was one of those where, I think we can all raise the level of competence of all industries. There's incompetence in doctors. I mean, think about that, right? There's always a worst one in the class. They still get a license. Still get to be a doctor. There's a worse teacher in the class. There's incompetent teachers. They're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
There's incompetent astronauts. Think about that. So it's one of those where it's just such a big part in being great at what you do and escaping average. We need to escape average. Don't be average. Don't seek to be average. Don't seek to just get by. And then all your life you're trying to get by and you barely get by. And it's much better when you're an expert, because, it's easier to be excellent than it is to be mediocre. It's easier to be excellent than it is to be mediocre, right? And people are like, no, it's easier to be mediocre. No. Once you're excellent, life is a lot easier, because you already know the answers. You already know where to go next. Instead of trying to figure it out all the time and being slow to figure it out, and in some cases not figuring it out fast enough to get paid, to get the client, to convert, to sell, whatever it may be. It's easier to be excellent than it is to be mediocre. It's harder to get to excellent than it is to get. You could be mediocre today, right?
Yeah.
Don't settle for mediocre. Go for excellence, because once you're excellent, life is easier. I've lived it. And we need to be lighthouses of excellence in a sea of mediocrity. That's what we really need to be, is stand out because of our excellence, because of how well we do things. Stand out. Like, don't settle to be just a wayward ship in a sea of mediocrity. Be the lighthouse of excellence that people look up to, they use for guidance. You don't have to run along the beach and say, use me, use me, use me, right? Lighthouse doesn't do that. A lighthouse stands tall, shines its light, and for those that need its guidance, they'll seek it and go to it and be a lighthouse of excellence in a sea of mediocrity. That's the biggest thing that I can say about competence and what it does for you. And never stop learning, never stop growing. Why is it so attractive to be competent and get referrals? Is because growth is attractive. If you're always seeking to be competent and always seeking excellence, then you're always going to be growing. And guess what? That's attractive. There's nothing more attractive than growth, period. So,
yeah, I think so. The other part of this too is the consistency in delivering high quality results. And I think that also shows that you're competent in what you do without you having to say that you're competent in what you do. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I hear consistency of doing a high quality of service, I instantly think systems, right? Mm-hmm. It's a system saving you stress, time, energy, and money. And that's a system. So, here's the thing. I will tell you that 80% of my listing presentations were, my answer was, we have a system for that. Whatever somebody asked. What about my dog? We have a system for that. What about marketing? We have a system for that. What about negotiation? We have a system for that. What about the description? We have a system for that. What about price? We have a system for that. What about staging? We have a system for that. Everything. We have a system for that. In fact, to the point where our clients would ask a question and then they would answer it themselves before we even gave an answer. You probably already have a system for that. It's like, yes, we do. And if we don't or didn't, it would be, we have a system for that. And then we would create the system for it. Yeah, we would create the system for it when I got back to the office. Yeah. Right. So, open houses, we have a system for that. We had one of the best systems in the world, I truly believe, for open houses. So I think that consistency in delivering a high quality level of service is like part of it. I think the first thing is an attitude that I'm going to be a lighthouse of excellence. I'm going to know this like nails. I'm going to know it better than anybody else. Right. And I guess there's a little ego involved in that whole better than anyone else, but know it to a T, know it beautifully. And then that consistence of high level, I just really think the only way to do that is with checklists and systems. Mm-hmm. I think that's, then you have a checklist. I'll give you another great example is Susan was one of my first transaction coordinators. She wasn't antisocial. She just hated people. Right. So I'm going to say something and it might offend some people, or it might just sound like that's really bad. And it is bad, but we called her the paperwork Nazi, right? She was so hardcore on paperwork, and you didn't want to go around her if you still owed paperwork. You would literally go the opposite way in the hall to not go by her office if you owed paperwork, which was awesome for me, because I remember that first contract. I was running around getting Davey and Vanessa's signatures the day of closing because they said, you don't get paid if you don't have this paperwork. And there was like the buyer's agreement and the affiliated business. I had to get some of these pages that only they could sign for our brokerage. So it's just one of those where, what's interesting is, but she was phenomenal. Yeah. She was phenomenal. She rubbed people the wrong way a lot, but she was phenomenal. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just the greatest example of competence ever, is just, you know what, we didn't want her talking to our clients on the phone. We didn't, I mean, it was, but man, the paperwork was perfect. I did not have a fine for 8
Ever.
years. And by the way, you get fined in real estate if a piece of paperwork is missed. I didn't get fined for 8 years, the entire 8 years that we worked with Susan, right? So it's just one of those where, and then we didn't get fined ever again.
Yeah.
Because we had a checklist, right? We had a checklist, which goes to your consistency of a high level, right? And another thing is, it was like, Susan, don't ever talk to the client, right? It was just like, that was part of the system, is we've got something we need. It's like the agent needs to talk to the client. And that was, and we had a system for it. So I believe that, you know, it's about frequency and consistency, right? Study every day, be consistent with it. And the consistency of high quality service is going to be, you know, have a system for it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so many ways that you can improve your competency, especially in real estate. Contracts are just one piece of it. You know, another big one is the market, you know, knowing what's going on in the market. I mean, I think it's good to know what the media is saying, because it's good to know, like, kind of what your potential clients might be saying or thinking. But then it's also, I mean, critical to know the actual market numbers for where you are. And a lot of times what consumers hear are like the national average sales price, the national average interest rate, nationally what's going on in the real estate market. That may or may not be the case for your market. So it's good to know what's going on in the media, but it's more important to know what's going on in your area and in each client's neighborhood and different price points within your market.
Which
and
really
that's
brings
all
up
stuff that you can find out too. I mean, you can research all of that.
Which brings up a great point on the importance of, like, one thing that we didn't talk about being competent is, for a realtor, is pricing homes, right? So that was one of the favorite parts of the exercise of doing the listing agreements, was they had to come up with the pricing of their own home. They always overpriced it, people. They always overpriced it. And there I was having an argument with an agent about the value of their home in a make-believe scenario, which was like, this is make-believe, right? But it's like, and it's so funny, is if you've ever seen an agent's house listed, you just laugh, because it's always overpriced. It's always overpriced. And what is so funny is that agent is probably fantastic at talking to clients about pricing the house right, you know? And I mean, so, you know, doing a CMA on a home is an important part of the process, because, you know, man, if you can, I just loved it when we hit that price point and we started seeing the showings and those offers come in, even in a slower market. If you price it right, you stage it right, you make it look right, smell right, look right, sound right, then you get multiple offers. And it's just a beautiful thing for you, for the client, for everybody involved. And, you know, then there's been those ones where, you know, all right, we're willing to take the listing at the seller's price. And then, man, 2 weeks later, the crickets are chirping, and you know, like, man, we've lost some momentum on this thing, and we got to cut it, and then we got to relaunch it. And so anyway, it's just one of those where, that's a great point that you just made, is that, you know, like, knowing the market doesn't, for Kansas City, the national numbers meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It was all it, and this is real estate. Lending is different. Lending is more of a national type of thing. But in real estate, it is literally, it is localized to the point of a single home. You can be right next to a home that's going to be priced differently. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, front to back split, 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath, 2-story. Both have 2-car garage, totally different prices.
Yeah, not the same house.
That means, just like, that's how local real estate is. That's what I love about it too. I loved it. I loved the challenge of pricing homes. I loved it because it was just like, Nobody else could do it as well as we did, in my opinion. And I did get help. I got help from appraisers. I got, I got help from other agents. But it's just one of those where that's such a great point as to one of the things that needs to be part of the deal. And if you're a lender, it's knowing all the programs. It's knowing right now, it's knowing a 3-2-1 buy down, a 2-1 buy down. It's knowing some of these more creative options than, FHA, VA, and conventional. Right.
Yeah. Of the 3 C's, competence is the one that I feel is the easiest to work on. It's where you can see the biggest gain. Your character is your character, right? And yes, you can work on yourself, but like competency in what you do, it's endless. Like how fast you can grow that area of being referable. This is the one, and I think this is the one where we spent the most time, especially with new buyers agents when they would come onto our team through CMAs and previewing property and writing contracts. And like, they've got to know we got to teach them all the stuff that they don't know. And, hands-on practice is the way that we did it. And it made a difference.
For sure. The other thing too, is that you're right. When you come in to, like, let's say it's just new to real estate. And I keep using that because that's my background. So don't knock me on. If you're in auto sales or whatever, then you got to take those examples and make them work for you. But in character, you could come in you're not coming in at a 0 in character. Right. Most likely.
Yeah.
You're coming in at a 7 or a 6 or a 9 or whatever it is. Some people come in as a 10 and just stay there. Right. Past preachers, past teachers. There's some that just like, they're going to do the right thing. They're not money motivated. They'll never make an error or a decision based on money, right? They'll always favor the client. But yeah, if you're an 8, you can go to a 9, you can go to a 10 pretty easily. On competence, everybody comes in at a 0. Everybody. So it is where you can make the most important improvements fast. And you got to get to a 2 or 3. You got to get to a 4 or 5. But I truly believe that in 30 days, you can be at a 9 or 10 on competence. I truly believe that without having a single client. Now, does it help to have clients and practice on real people? Ask your doctor.
Maybe.
Ask your doctor. I will tell you, when the bullets are real is when you find out how real you are. And that's the truth. So I love it. That's good. That's a good conversation on competence. Do things right. Do things right. Get it to where you do things right, and then do things right without thinking about it.
Yeah, I love it. Next week is
no, don't say it. Next week.
I said the 3rd C. We're not on the
3rd C. The next week is 3rd C. We will reveal the 3rd C of referability last week. It is the most important of the 3 C's. I told you we're going in order of importance with character, competence, and the next one. And it is the most important by far. And it's the difference between having clients, getting clients, and not having or getting clients. It's the difference between having relationships and getting referrals. It's an all important one. And here's what's amazing about the next one is the number one complaint in real estate is not about agents' character. They don't say they're dishonest or lied to them or didn't disclose anything. The number one complaint is not about competence. They don't say you're negligible. They don't say that that you wrote the contract wrong or did anything. Those aren't the leading complaints in real estate. We are going to reveal the leading complaint, not just for real estate agents, but for lenders, auto sales, solar sales, attorneys, CPAs, and financial planners. The number one complaint at the national level. We're going to reveal it next time. So we will see you next time, right? You're going to be here to learn the 3rd C of referability. Wow. What a terrific episode. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and you are enjoying this 7-part series on Rise and Thrive in 25. I absolutely love the content and concepts that we are going through to help you have a base of knowledge to build your referral-based business off of. Hey, listen, can you imagine a business based on love, generosity, and appreciation? Can you imagine your life built on a base of love, generosity, and appreciation? And shouldn't your business and your life be aligned? Why would you want to go to work and act like a completely different person? Right? You don't. You want to be in alignment. You want to be in congruence. And guess what? This is what we're teaching. This is what you're learning. If you enjoyed today's episode, first of all, do yourself a favor. If you're on the podcast, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you get continuing episodes of Referrals Podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there, hit the bell, let us know what you think, and also make sure you're subscribed so that you get indications and notifications when the next ones come up. Also, while you're here, if you enjoyed what you heard, you want to get more information, I've got a couple of great resources for you. Join gengen.com. Join the generosity generation. We are in the midst of the generosity generation. We have all graduated from the ego era to a more powerful nation called the generosity generation. And if you enjoyed what you're hearing today, you're going to be a great member, and we want to refer you, and we want your referrals. Join gengen.com, joingen.com. And then also, listen, get some help. As you hear the concepts, wouldn't it be great to talk to someone who can listen to you, understand where you're going, hear you, truly hear you, and then help you make it to the next level, help you put in a plan for the next level? Do yourself a favor and go to callwithcoach.com. Callwithcoach.com. Get signed up with one of our strategic coaches. This is 100% a call about you. No sales, no pitch, no obligation, no cost. Crazy, cool, make it happen. So join gengen.com, callwithcoach.com, make it happen. And also, I'll see you on the next episode of Referrals Podcast.